Okay, so this is iron to iron, and I'm really uncomfortable about this one because this is an interview of me, and it was just brought to my attention today that this is going to be something we need to do. So we're going to move forward with Gus asking questions and all that kind of stuff, and yes, my palms are actually sweaty because I don't know what he's going to ask. So here we go.
Welcome to Iron. This is a unique episode that we've got here, and I think you've already heard a little bit of what Steve said. He's nervous, and his palms are sweating. So this is going to be a good one for sure. Steve, why are your palms sweating, by the way?
Because I know you, but I don't know what you're going to say, which makes me all the more nervous.
So is there a factor of distrust?
No, not distrust. Because we're so much alike in so many different ways, I'm going, oh man, what would I do? Oh no, surely he's not going to do that.
Well, I certainly understand that. And the reason that we're doing this is that, not everybody really knows Steve, right? Knows of you. They're used to, those that go to the fellowship are used to seeing you, personal experience, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But for those that are only listening, seeing you on teachings, here's this brainiac, this pointy-headed intellectual guy that, has all this prophecy stuff. And they probably want to know a little bit more about the real person behind all the great teachings.
Well, thank you. Okay.
So this won't be real tough. So let me start with my first question, okay?
Okay, first question.
Okay. Stephen, what do you really like? No, we aren't going to go there because that would be like a spotlight on your head and stuff like that. But so you started teaching and working in biblical prophecy when?
Oh, well, when it comes to prophecy, I was a prophecy geek in my high school days. I mean, you couldn't get me out of it was just, I don't even know what got me started on it. I would probably say my freshman, sophomore year, I was just like, well, no, it was my sophomore year because that was I got my first big Bible, and I was just like, I'll never forget it. I got it, for Christmas then, and I think I read through half the book of Matthew in one night. I was just so tickled pink because it's the NIV, and it was the first rendition of the NIV. The newer NIVs I don't like, but the older one is more closer to the ESV, and I'm going, oh my gosh, there's no these and thous, and this is so cool, and things just started clicking for me back then with prophecy, or interested to me. I wouldn't say clicking, but yeah, that's when it started for me on prophecy, especially.
And so that's been 3 or 4 years now?
Yeah, just maybe 4. Yeah.
4 decades?
That's closer to
I don't want to date you, but
well, yeah, it was in the early 80s. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's at least 4 years.
Uh-huh.
So, wow, that's amazing. And so that's kind of your primary passion of teaching and studying.
It's always been a passion, but obviously when I came to Torah, that was that overshadowed the prophecy. But what happened when I came to Torah is prophecy came to life even more so when I came to Torah because things just started clicking all the more. It was so funny too because back my senior year was when I started going the way of post-trib, and I was post-trib when post-trib wasn't cool, And now everyone's post-trib. Well, not everyone, but a large majority of people are. And now here I am. I'm circled back. I'm back to the pre-trib, which is not what your typical pre-trib, what the church holds to. But, So, but coming to Torah, I would say Torah is my passion. I love getting into the Torah and finding out why this, how this, what in the world did this. Oh, that's what it was. And the mere reasoning of showing why Yeshua had to come and die on the cross, but yet how he's our sin sacrifice, but yet Passover is not a sin sacrifice, and I got those teachings on that. It's how does he do it? And there's just Torah is so stinking, I can't say stinking, but so crazy cool, rich and thick And it's like you can't get enough of it, And once you think you got a layer of it, he shows you 5 other layers, and he's just scratching the surface of it. And and I was just talking to some friends the other night. We were all talking about how only Yahweh. You can study a topic as much as you want, unless the Father reveals it to you. You're not going to get the full meaning of it, and that's, I think, the importance of going into Bible study. Not to say I want to learn the Bible, but to say I want to know Him. There's a difference, So
there is. That was a great explanation, by the way, and it prompted a thought. I'd like to know your story, and let me qualify that a little bit. Were you always in biblical understanding? And then, second part of that is, after you describe that a little bit, when did you start understanding Torah? That story fascinates me when I meet people that are Torah observers.
Right. It does. I agree. I was brought up in church. My family was, when I was born, we were in the United Pentecostal Church. And then when I was around 4 or 5, we moved over to the Assembly of God Church. And that's where I grew up the rest of my life, in the Assemblies of God Church. And so I've always had a foundation of biblical foundation all around me with my family. My grandma, you name it. My grandma used to preach, and all these different things you can go into, history of how I had a foundation there. And my dad, I get told I'm just like my dad because my mom once said, "Joe, you'd argue with a stop sign," And there's this, and Dad, my dad, he's since gone on to be with the Lord, and he always questioned authority, not out of meanness, not out of mischievousness, but for example, he was always the one to say, "I'm sorry, tithes was for the priests, not for the preachers." He said that back then, and he never tithed. He says, "This is not biblical."
Wow.
Yeah, and there were lots of things my dad would say, and I'm looking back now and going, man, if he was alive, he would be right here with me. I know, and it's like, so there's just so many things like that. And one day, and I'll never forget this, was I was in the back seat with all my 2 older brothers and older sister, in the back seat of a Ford Galaxy 500, and going home from church, and Mom looked over at Dad and said, "Joe, can you just go one service or one Sunday school service without asking questions like that?" Because he would always ask a question to, make a point, And so I get that from my dad. So that's my foundation, where I came from. Now, and then I grew up in the church, of course, became Royal Ranger leader, CA leader. And
Whoa, stop a second.
Okay.
Royal Ranger.
Royal Rangers is basically a Boy Scout system in the Assemblies of God Church. It's really a great thing that they've got.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And I became a Royal Ranger leader. Then I became a Sunday school teacher, then worked in the youth. And next thing you know, I become a youth pastor at the age of 21. And so then how I came to Torah. After many years in the ministry, different things I was youth pastor, youth evangelist, pastor, worship leader, several different things throughout my life. And in the last years before I came to Torah, I was at a very, very large Baptist church, 1,500 member Baptist church, where I did all the live and post video editing. And okay. I'll never forget, a friend of mine, I don't want to say his name, but everyone knows who he is. And he came to me, and I was just coming from backstage, and he handed me a bunch of these CDs and stuff. Says, "You got to watch these, man. These are going to change everything." And we used to study prophecy together all the time. And then I'm going, "Oh, man, what's he getting into now?" And so next thing you know, and that was in the middle of December. And I watched them. And, of course, I'm going, "Oh, that's wrong." This, that, and the other. I'm taking notes and stuff. And it was, lots of, teachers like, Brad Scott. I liked Brad Scott a lot, and he's since gone on. And Bill Cloud, and then there was Rico Cortez back then. There's lots of these big teachers I was watching and listening to. And it took me about a week, and I'm going, okay, I can't answer some of these. And then another week, I'm going, okay, I think they're right. What am I going to do? Type thing. Because now I got to confess, everything I preached all my life was a lie. Now, was I preaching it as a lie, like I'm lying to you? No, but I believed it. And now all of a sudden it's wrong. Talk about humiliating to a minister,
Sure.
And so it was a big humble pill I had to go through. And I'll never forget, I have a teaching on this. I came home from work, and at that time I was an underground lineman, and
were you the one in the song? It was a lineman for the county. Is that what? What was it? No.
Yeah.
Okay. Just
no.
check.
Yeah. Okay. I get home from work. I was so mad because I'm going. I told God. I said, look, either this is right or I'm right. What is it? And I get home. I was so mad. And I walked through the kitchen. My children were little. Angel was in there. I said, I'm going to the room. Don't bother me. And she knew I'd been going through all this, battling back and forth with myself and everything, And I went in, threw my Bible on the bed and said, I'm done, God. I'm not talking to you until you show me what's going on. That's it, And then, of course, I was praying. So I started talking to him. But I was just so mad. And I'm going, how can this be true? But how can this not be true with all the stuff I believe in? And it was the next morning. I'm driving into work. It was, 5:30 in the morning, still dark. And I remember I'm turning off of Highway 111 out of Cahokia onto Highway 55 going into St. Louis. I had just turned onto Highway 55. I can tell you, if you take me there, I'll tell you it was right here. It was like a flip of the switch went on in my brain. That quick, that easy. I'm going, oh my gosh, if that means this, then that means that. The dots started connecting. And as silly as it sounds, I felt born again because the Bible came to life. There was no more, well, I don't know. And yes, we still got questions, I don't know. But man, so much has come to life since then. And that day was a holiday or some kind of whatever was going on, and over half of our crew was gone. So my boss sent me and a couple of guys on a job that he knew was only going to be like an hour job long because he didn't have anything else for us to do. So I had all day long to study the Bible. And so as I cannot write fast enough all the stuff that was going through my head. And I remember writing down specifically, I feel like, now I can't even think of his name, the king who cleared everything out. Forgive me.
I'm sorry, I can't pick it up. Okay.
Anyway, so because he was the one, he was 8 years old when he became king. Now he's 24 years old, and all of a sudden one of his servants says, "Hey, look, I found the book of the law in the temple."
Oh, you're talking about Joshua?
No, not Joshua.
King Joshua, isn't it?
No.
The king later on.
Yeah, no, this was much later. Joshua served the Lord all the way through. This guy became king when he was 8. Josiah.
You're not talking about Josiah.
Josiah, you were so close. Yes, and so as I'm writing, I feel like Josiah cleaning out my life, cleaning out the temple. And ever since then, well, it's like here I am today. And it was a great thing, but it was hard on Angie because at our church, about the previous year before, we had someone in the fellowship who she was familiar with as far as the wife, and they had gone the way of Torah, and everyone's talking bad about this person, and she was getting visions of, oh great, now we're going to be the ones everyone talks about, and it became that way. They dragged my name through the mud. I was the heathen of all heathens. I'm now under the law. I'm this, and yeah, but you know what? I would do it all over again if I had to, because there's been no greater joy knowing the truth. It just, when you find it and it all clicks, oh my gosh, if you're willing to accept it, he will show you more. And it all goes back to the element. He won't show you unless you're willing to humble yourself and say, do you really want to know me? And it goes back to what Paul's writing, to know him in the power of his resurrection and in the fellowship of his sufferings. That's what it's all about. It's not going to be all hunky-dory. There's going to be those times where you're going to lose everybody. Everyone's going to be there leaving you, and you're there left alone bearing your cross. Are you willing to do it? If you are, he's going to open up the doors for you, So, yeah, that's me.
No, I think that's awesome. And a couple of things stuck out to me there. One is questions. Your dad asked a lot of questions. Mm-hmm. And I find that, and I'm wondering if you do as well, that the way you share with people is by asking questions of them, because A, people like to talk about themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and then B, they like to share about themselves, and a person shows interest in them. It's like, oh, okay, let me talk to you.
Yeah, yeah. I'm finding the best way to present Torah to somebody is, obviously it's not banging the head over the head, but ask them questions that's going to challenge their faith. That's what you want to do. You know, if they say Yeshua is a spotless lamb, okay, great. He's a spotless lamb. I completely agree. How can he be the spotless lamb but yet break the law? You know, and then start getting those questions, and they'll say, well, he made all foods clean. Well, then how did he make all foods clean? Because if it says here you declare someone who's preaches something against the Torah, they're breaking the Torah. Then that means he's no longer. Ask those questions, and that gets them thinking, well, yeah, how can he be the spotless lamb? Things like that. It just gets them thinking. Let the Holy Spirit do the work. You ask the questions. I think too often, and I say this a lot, I know, but too many times we try to be the Holy Spirit and try to change people's mind.
Yeah.
Plant the seed.
Exactly.
Let him do it. He'll do it far better than you. You know? So.
Yep. Stephen Bible Seed. That's like Johnny Appleseed.
Johnny Appleseed.
I don't know. Try to come up with something quick and dumb. But, the other thing I was thinking about was when you were saying that you'd become the pariah. You know, people say, oh, you know, now he's under the law, and that happened. Usually we ask that question, and there are things like different documentaries where they interview people, and almost everybody, if you would agree, says the same thing. Yeah, I was an outcast. Family, friends, etc.
Yeah.
Doesn't this seem like a standard thing?
Yeah.
How many times have you had the opportunity to say, these are the first people or person, whether it's a group or a specific person, that said, you know what, you're on the right track, good job? Who would that be for you?
Well, thankfully, I wasn't by myself. Like I said, my friend who had handed me the CDs and stuff, he was already there, and I was the first person he came to. And he told me, he goes, man, he told his wife, he goes, man, if Steve doesn't get it, I don't know what's going to happen here. It's one of those situations. And of course I got it, thankfully, you know, but I've had those situations too. I'm thinking, well, surely this guy's going to get it, you know, and then they don't, which is, you know, just go like, you scratch your head. But so I wasn't alone like so many other people out there who are, and thankfully Angela came right on board because she was praying for me.
Oh,
she was praying for me. She was, and because we had 3 little children, and her biggest prayer was, God, I am too busy to study this on my own. You have got to show him. If it is not the truth, show him. If it is the truth, show him. And she said every time she prayed that, I came home all excited about something new. You got to check this out. And, you know, it's like it was just more and more confirmation every time. And it's so funny too, because when I came to the Torah, I told Angela, I said, it's funny, excuse me, I said, I think I'm done preaching, honey. And she goes, what? I go, I don't know any of this. This is way over my head. I'll never get all of this. I'll never be able to teach again, honey. I'm done. And so I just assumed I'm done with ministry. That was a season of my life to get me to the Torah now, and I'm done. And so I was content with that. I wasn't content with that, but I had to be content with it because I knew I'm never going to get this, you know. And yet here I am, you know.
Here, I'll put my arm around you, man. So let me explain real quickly why we laugh about that, because this is the first time in Iron to Iron we've actually been in 2 different states.
You're right.
I'm in the state of confusion, and I don't know what state you're in, but I'm in Oregon. You're in Arkansas.
Yes.
And so you'll see a split screen, and that's because we're in 2 different places.
That's right.
So sometimes our eye movements will be different than if we're sitting in the studio together. Mm-hmm. Although I'm doing my best to look this way, Steve, because normally you're on my left.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm looking the right way or not. I actually think I'm supposed to be looking this way.
There you go. And I'll look this way.
There we
go. We can talk to each other.
There we go.
We'll have to try that. But anyway, I just wanted to explain that to the audience. I was like, what are these guys doing? How come they're on the split screen? What's going on?
Right.
So, yep. All right. So you've given us an idea of kind of where you came from a spiritual standpoint and what your journey is there. I find those stories fascinating. They're great witnesses, and they really help, to me, encourage me and I'm sure others in their walk, because it is tough. You do stand out like a sore thumb in a sea of vanilla chaos out there.
Right.
And I think we need to make sure that we're bolstering each other and connecting.
Yes.
That's the next phase.
Yep.
Connecting.
Yep. Well, and encouraging, because it's thankfully I'm seeing more and more a unity coming together, and I just did a teaching on it, or recorded one, or it's going to be released, but the element of, at least at our fellowship, there's more and more people who are willing to love one another despite the differences, and that's what's needed. Good. You know, when I remember coming to Torah, and it was a big movement. We're talking 2010, 2011, yes. When 2010 was we came to end of 2009, going into 2010, and that was like the big. You know, people were coming in from everywhere, and everyone's not knowing what we're doing. You know, and so everyone had more questions than anything else, and we still do, of course. But a lot of us like to think we have more answers now, and because of that, of our own answers, we've started dividing. You know, and as sad as it is, people don't like to hear this analogy, but it's true. The truth started splintering off into, well, this truth, and well, that truth. Well, First Baptist here, Second Baptist here. You follow what I'm saying? It's like we started doing it. You know, just like the Baptists did, the Pentecostals, all the different denominations started happening here.
We start denominating.
Yep. And I get it, because you see it this way, and those people who you hang with see it that way. So you're going, birds of a feather flock together. I'm cool with that. Mm-hmm. But we need to use caution and pushing people away of that just the same. It's a very, we're going to be judged on our love, not on our knowledge. And people need to remember that.
You know, you said we need to love people in spite of our differences. Mm-hmm. Maybe we could even get to the point of loving people because of our differences.
Absolutely. That's a great way of saying it. Yep.
Embracing those things.
Yeah. But we can go on forever on that one.
Oh, we could. Yeah, we could have a whole different eye to eye here.
Right.
And get right out of the interview process. But I'm going to jump back into that.
Okay.
And let's talk about flat Earth. No, I'm kidding. We are going to talk about that kind of stuff. We're going to stay away from topics that are divided.
There we go.
And I think you do that in your congregation as well.
I do not allow divisional topics. It doesn't matter to me if one's flat, globe, Trinity, non-Trinity, or whatever. It's like, dude, those are not salvational issues. I do not let them get brought up at our fellowship. I'll cut it. I'll cut it short. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Actually, the times I've been to your fellowship down there, and when I say you, I mean you as a group,
right?
Not like Steve's
fellowship. Yeah.
Because we the two of us have talked about this. It's Yahweh doing the whole thing.
Amen to that, brother.
And I really like the way that you pointed out to people that are new. You know, get a lot of new people here now, and what is it you say?
Oh, I always say it's like we are all different people, and we're on the same journey, but different paths along the way. And I say that every week almost, because we keep getting new people coming in. And so those who are watching us right now are chuckling at me right now, because I'll say, look, we have people who say this name, people who say that name, people who say Jesus, some people say Yeshua, some people say God, some people say Yahweh, Jehovah, all these different things. You get this calendar, you got that. And then I'll say, how many different calendars we got? It was like 5, 6, 7 different calendars in our fellowship, but yet it doesn't divide. It's like we accept it as it is. And that's the way it should be I'll start preaching. I got to be quiet.
No, that's all right. And where I was going specifically, because I like the fervor and the directness with which you say it, is you say, if you feel like everybody has to say the name a certain way, there's the door.
Oh, yes.
I mean, you don't cut any, you don't dance around it.
No. Because if you are making our fellowship your mission field, I will usher you to the door. That's not what this is about. Our people will love you because you'd say it differently. You need to love them, respect them, likewise in return. And I have talked to people and deep, doggone it, awesome conversations. And I'm saying Yahweh and he's saying Jehovah, and we're going back and forth, and we don't think a thing about it because that's our conviction. It's just, and it's so funny because one day after a conversation like that, I don't know who brought it to my attention, but it was so funny because you kept saying this and they kept saying that, and you guys weren't flinching at all. It's like it was just, I'm going, I didn't even realize it. It's like, because
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, it's just the way. But yeah, you're right. Well, and that's what we do at our Sukkot too. It's like, if you believe, you have people have to believe what you believe, or this, that, and the other. This Sukkot's not for you. Don't come. And that's same with our fellowship. It's that just breeds division. And as long as it's our home fellowship, which is just simply outgrown the home, it's not going to happen under my watch.
Good. I think that's excellent. Would you mind if I switch back a little more personal?
Yeah.
Again?
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Not that prophecy in Scripture and your story and what we're talking about now isn't personal, because it is, but more personal, Steve. Okay. So where were you on the day or night of May 14th, 1969?
I was in Jewish hospital with my mom holding me in her arms.
Oh, that's cute.
Yes.
And that would have been in like the St. Louis area?
St. Louis, Missouri. Yeah, Jewish hospital.
And that's where you grew up?
Well, I was born in St. Louis, and then the second they brought me home was in Granite City, Illinois, is where I lived.
Granite City.
You could,
awesome.
from my backyard, you could see the St. Louis Arch. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
And you grew up there?
Yeah, I lived there my whole life until we actually moved with 119 to Costa Rica. And we moved there simply because of cost of living, because John had quit his job at the hospital. I quit my job as a lineman. So we had two good paying jobs. We had to quit and had to find a cheaper place to live. And Costa Rica won out. But yeah, I was there in Granite City my whole life until the day we moved to Costa Rica.
So there's a rumor that you like really big trophies, and that trophy kind of thing comes from BMX. And did BMX come from St. Louis? Because you're a BMX rider. I don't know if many people know this.
I do race BMX. I have not raced much this year, but it first started, a friend of mine across the street got a BMX bike, and I go, oh my gosh, I have to have one of these, typical kid, And then next thing I know, another friend of mine, he already had one, and he raced. And I go, oh, I want to race. I'll never forget seeing him ride down the bike, the street with his helmet on. I just thought it was the coolest thing ever, And so I always wanted to do that, but I never did because I was brought up in a home, football, basketball, baseball, track and stuff, And so I stuck with all that stuff. Looking back, if I could go back, if there's anything I would change, that would be what I would change. I would not do any organized sports in school. I would do BMX. It is interesting. Yeah, it is. It changed everything for me for sports. You don't have a coach yelling at you, cussing at you, and pushing you too hard. You are your own coach, or your dad, whoever you want to have with you, and you can go as hard as you want or as soft as you want. You can join a team. You don't have to be on a team. And you can practice as much as you want. Go race as much as you want. It's totally, what do you want to have it, and you will achieve what you work for. And so yeah, I got a few trophies under the belt, but yeah, I've gotten a little rustier this last year or so.
Well, you've been busy with the teachings, and I know because I get to edit many of those teachings.
You do.
Wow. Yeah, you crank them out.
It's
amazing.
That's funny. Oh, just dropped something.
All right. So we kind of got the idea that you were born a small child at an early age back in '69, and then you at some point got married.
I did.
How did you and Angela meet?
I remember, it was at the Assembly of God Church where I grew up, and I will never forget seeing her. I saw her come into the church. It was an evening service, and I go, wow, she's pretty. And it was that same night I saw her go to the altar, and she rededicated her life that night. And then I thought to myself, okay, I'm keeping my eye on her. And I watched her for a whole year. Now, that sounds kind of creepy. I watched her for a whole year. But she became a part of the youth group. She became a part of the youth group and everything. And I didn't say anything, showed no interest. I tried not to anyway. Mm-hmm. And after a year, I saw, okay, I think she's solid. She's growing. Let's give it a shot. I asked her on a date. And we went to a Brian Duncan concert, which was a Christian singer, which was one of my favorite singers. And then we went to the Spaghetti Factory in downtown St. Louis. 3 months later, I asked her to marry me. 6 months later, we're married. So that's how it worked.
It's kind of like your teachings. I can see where you get that in your teachings. You know, you focus, you get in there, you do your thing, prayerfully make it happen.
Right. That's funny.
It would be so much fun to be able to talk to Angela right now to see if what you said about, I just tried to keep it, so that she wouldn't know. I bet you the girls know. Oh yeah, that guy's he's always looking at you. Her girlfriends. I'll bet you.
Right. Yeah. Right. I'm sure. Yeah. Oh. As guys, we think we're playing it cool, but they know.
Nah, yeah, we're not. We're clods.
Right. Exactly. That's funny.
So then,
no, but it's fun.
So you got married, and then you had children, and this is all St. Louis area, roughly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so
we were married in 1991, and we just celebrated our 23rd anniversary, by the way.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
Did you say 23rd?
23rd, 32nd, sorry.
Yeah.
Reversed.
Yeah. You sounded a little dyslexic there.
Yeah, exactly. We were married, and we didn't have children for 10 years. And it wasn't that we weren't trying not to. It's just, in fact, we were wondering, okay, is there something wrong here? Type thing. And in fact, that was when Angela decided to stop working, and we did foster care for a while. And so we started doing foster care, and that was really cool. For some, sometimes it was hard, but at the same time, it was really cool. We had one young man who stayed with us for a long time, great young man. In fact, he just contacted me not too long ago. And after we had, I guess, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 children by the time it had filtered through, but one had stayed with us pretty much the whole time. Then next thing you know, Angela's pregnant, and we're going, oh no, what do we do now? and then we scrounged up to pennies and found put the house up for sale to get a bigger house. And cause we just had a 2-bedroom house, and our bedroom was upstairs in like a loft. And so, but yeah. And next thing you know, we have Nicole was our firstborn, and then Nadia was our second, and then Levi is our third. And now Levi is our youngest, who is getting ready to turn 16 in just a few months. And I just still can't believe that's the case. Time flies,
I would encourage the audience to go back and look at some of the earlier teachings, and you can start to see the gray hairs start showing up on Steve here.
Yeah, when they all became teenagers.
Yeah. They came out really fast then.
Yes, I'm telling you. It's so true.
Now we know what we did to our parents, right?
Right, exactly. Reaping our own seeds.
Yeah. Well, Steve, we're starting to run kind of tight on time. I don't want to go a long time, and we could go a long time because you're an interesting guy, and I say that in all sincerity, really. You and I met in Costa Rica, whenever that was. How many years ago was that?
That was back in 2016.
Wow, good memory.
I only know because we were just on the verge of moving back here to the States, and that's when we moved.
So if it's all right with you, I'd kind of like to wrap up with the transition from 119 Ministries and Costa Rica back up here. And if you could just paint a picture of how that all came about and what it's like now.
From leaving 119 to Torah Family, and then Torah Family to the States?
Yeah, and leaving Costa Rica and coming up here. It seemed like there was some timing issues there that were closely related. And yeah, how did things go between you and 119 and John? And
it was real good. There was about a year's worth of time that I felt that the Father was telling me I needed to go out on my own and start doing more family-oriented stuff, along with with all the same stuff I do, but start bringing in more for the children at that time. And right now, I'm trying to get them to come back and start doing more children's teachings, and they're planning on doing that.
Good.
But yeah, I'm thankful. So that was what happened as far as the reasoning, and then the transition flowed real good. So here's the deal. And I go, John goes, it caught him off guard. And I go, I get it. And so, but I didn't know what I was doing with websites, and still don't. If it wasn't for Joshua and you helping out, I don't know where I'd be. But I had some friends come along and help me out, got that going. So Torah Family started. And then we were there still another year and a half in Costa Rica. And we had a friend visit us from Texas. And he said, so Steve, what are you still doing in Costa Rica? And I go, well, cost of living, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, dude, I'm living cheaper in Texas than you're living here. And then I looked at Angel, okay, maybe we need to refigure this stuff out because, finances are still tight, and so that was when we realized it's time to move back. And we started, doing the numbers, crunching the numbers and looking and stuff. And then that's when we decided it's time to move back home. And instead of moving back to Illinois, we decided just, let's just count all of our options open here, So then Angela started looking up what's the cheapest place of living, gun laws, homeschool laws, this law, that law. And Arkansas won out for us. And here we are in Northwest Arkansas. We're landed here. And thankfully, all is going good. As long as people support us, we're doing good, so we're thankful.
Well, and, so many times you hear of, like in churches, for instance, well, we're not happy, so we're splitting off on our own church. And so for people that didn't know the story, I think that would be helpful because I know one of the trips when I was down there, I know what it was. Actually, we were on a 3.5 month trip, my wife and I, where we just met with people, and that's a whole other story. But I had reached out to John and said, hey, can I swing by and see you in Florida? Because they had moved to Tampa area, I think, or St. Pete's or something.
At that time, yeah.
Yeah. And he laughed. He said, I'm in Arkansas. I said, what? That's where Steve is. He goes, I know. Yeah. We're hanging out together. And it's like, oh, that is so cool that you're still good buds and hang out together.
Oh, yeah.
Now all the time, family-wise.
Yeah. John's part of the fellowship. Their family's part of the fellowship.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's great. In fact, I just called him today, and he's going to be a breakout speaker at the youth convention we're working on right now. So
okay, well, go ahead, give a plug for that because that's an interesting event coming up.
Yeah. This is going to be a very big event. It's going to be held in middle of Oklahoma on the Oklahoma-Arkansas border, and Poto is where it's called. But it's going to be held on December 24th, 25th, and 26th. Everyone's off vacation. We don't celebrate those days, so we're making it a day for us to utilize for the kingdom. And it is going to be a powerful, powerful meeting. 3 days of just punch with the message for teens. This is a teen event. Now, can families come? Yes. In fact, we encourage moms and dads especially, but it's not going to be, we will have no childcare provision, nothing for childcare. So just an FYI, it's definitely geared for teens only. I remember when I was youth, man, youth conventions, we had them over Thanksgiving weekend for us. It impacted my life huge. Still to this day, I remember those events. And I told my wife, I said, it's time. We got to start doing this for the youth of Torah. And it's time to start doing this annually. And so this will be the first annual, and it's called Rise Up. And in fact, by now, by the time this video is up, the page should be up and going. And Lord willing, people start spreading the word because this is going to be an event you want your teams to come to.
So more information, you can find it on the website. We'll have
it'll be on the homepage. Yes.
And as you just mentioned, the TorahFamily.org website will be transitioning to a new look, new feel. So that'll be neat.
Yes, amen.
And if your editor can get off his can and get this thing edited in time, this will come out before the event. December. Let's see, how much time?
Yeah, you get a few months.
Yeah. Oh, Steve, is there anything in wrapping up our final thing that you want to say to people out there? And then we'll call it a night.
I do. I would like to say a huge thank you to all those who do support us, because if it wasn't for you, now when saying this, I mean, I know it's the Father who's doing this for us, but if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And there are times I know that there are many who have to cancel their subscriptions or, to support and stuff. And it's so funny because I'll be working on my messages and stuff here, and then I always get a message whenever some people cancel their thing, and it always shows in the upper right-hand corner. And it goes, so-and-so's canceled subscription. I go, oh, I just took a pay cut. It's like, but it's like, things happen for people. It's like maybe the Father led them to sponsor someone else, or they can't even do it anymore themselves. So it's like, but then next thing you know, the Father turns around and here comes, we get new subscribers, who are regular givers. So if you're out there and you support us, please know we are thankful for you. I mean, And if you ever email us, I'm sorry, I am so far behind. I try to get to emails as much as I can. It's just so hard. So please don't judge me if I don't answer you. But I do try. But if it wasn't for the people, and please know that our passion and hunger is to be there for you, to help you. And my biggest prayer has always been, Father, help me help your people. That's my biggest prayer. I'm not here. It's not about the Steve show or the Angie show or the Torah family. It's about the word, getting the word to the people and helping them understand, not just knowledge. Knowledge puffs up. We want to have understanding of his word, understanding him, how his heart beats in every element and how it all threads together throughout the word. That's our passion. So I pray that that's what you know and understand that is our heart's beat, is to help you grow closer to him. So, and thank you for everything. And thank you guys for bringing this topic up, because this has been a great time.
Oh, well, you're welcome. I know you're uncomfortable with it because it's not the Steve show. But I think it helps, to show the people, behind the camera, the people that are in front of the camera. And I think how Yah's using you and speaking through you is, as you and I have shared, just in closing real quick here, I'll go through and do edits, and it takes a number of passes through these 10, 15, 20, half an hour, hour-long teachings. And after 5 or 6 passes, I just want to look at it to study it and quit looking at the editing stuff. It's like, wait, that's right. I got to edit. I'm interested in this topic. So right. I really appreciate you, even since the day we met in Costa Rica, and just how I've been able to follow what you're saying and learn from you. And I look at 119 sometimes. I've got other sites I look at, but yeah. So on behalf of others too, thanks. Really appreciate what you're doing. May you can keep using you greatly.
Hallelujah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Right. Amen.
So with that, we're going to shut down and shut off the cameras, go back to our whatever we're doing, back to our families.
Amen.
And then we'll come back with a different topic next time we're together. So,
amen.
Or electronically together, right?
Right.
All right. Well, I love you, brother.
Love you too, brother.
All right.
Look at this way. Shabbat shalom.
All right. Bye.
Bye.